what would really be fun?
What? Oh, yeah. Me first.
You first.
First time. Now what?
You're not Mulder.
What? Baby.
Baby me and you'll be peeing through a catheter.
Hello and welcome to the Most Unwanted NX-Files podcast. I'm Luke and I'm with Daniel Checkley. I cut you off there, didn't I?
You did. I thought you were going to go back to the old trope that we used to do.
Yeah.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is. Well, it's a pleasure not to have left this room. That's what I like to think of it. But we had a short intro, so I'm going to eat up some time with the last one. It's been 3 weeks since we last spoke.
Yeah.
In the last recording session. What have you been up to?
Ooh. What have I been up to? Been working a lot. I think my social battery is really running low. Ever since, when we sort of came out of lockdowns and whatnot, and then people started doing things, and then it got to the point where I don't mind having my weekends full. In fact, I like having a full weekend of things. But it's getting to the point now where I'm doing things every night after work as well.
Yeah.
And it is I've had a few days over the past couple of weeks where I've just been so emotionally drained, where I'm just God, I could just sit in the house and do nothing for a couple of days.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I've got a couple of days like that coming up, which would be nice. What else? I'm double vax now, which that's always a good thing. Yeah, it's been good. It's as I say, it's nice to get back to. You don't want to complain because there's still a lot of people out there that can't go out with friends, and there's in England we've got football games with full crowds and festivals and whatnot, and that's good to see. So you don't want to complain about it, but also there is something to be said for. It's not easy just to get straight back into that life.
Yeah.
It really isn't, and people will struggle because we've had 2 years of being very isolated. And so, for me, especially, I'm quite a social person, and so for me to feel like that, it's made me realise that it is going to be difficult, especially if you're not quite as social, to really jump back into, because everyone wants to do everything now. Everyone wants to make the most of every day, which is the right thing, but also take time yourself as well. You know what I mean? Do what you're comfortable with.
I think there's too much of when people are you gotta live every day like it's your last, and it's if you do that, you'll be burnt out in a week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But no, it is that same kind of thing, where you, I think at the beginning when it was restrictions are off, you can do what you want and whatever. I think people were organising this and this because it had been so long. I think everybody's the same there, where it's the waves crashing, where it's I just want a weekend to not do anything and stuff like that. So I do understand, but it is nice that we have the option again. I think that was the thing that was lacking from during all of this. I mean, obviously all the terrible stuff that was happening to people and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
this is real first world problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, for sure.
But no, it was nice to. Me and Tash, we went to Cardiff. We went on our first technical holiday. Technically a holiday.
Yeah, Cardiff's lovely, isn't it?
It is a nice city. Yeah, it's really nice.
Did you go? Was it just Cardiff you went to?
We went to Barry as well.
Oh, Barry, yeah.
Which I really want to go to Barry again, because the trouble was it classic England or Wales.
Did it rain?
It rained.
Yeah.
On the second day, we were there and rained heavy. So it was one of those things where we went to Cardiff Castle, and it's all a lot of it is outdoors, or going between places outdoors. So you kind of just get absolutely soaked going from exhibit to exhibit. But other than that, it was good. But we were planning to go to Barry on the second day, so we could leave all our stuff at the hotel and then actually go to the beach. We couldn't really do that, but we sort of seen it and what it was like. It's kind of one of those things where it's when we're both driving or something like that, it's something that we can organise, or maybe organise with other people as well.
For sure.
But no, it was good. It was nice to sort of just go to bars and whatnot. I went to a lot of secret bars.
Nice.
Have you ever been to a secret bar?
Never been to a secret bar. I've always wanted to. There is one at Birmingham, which is close to where we live for the listeners, and I've walked past it and it's like a laundromat.
Yeah.
Do you know
There's
what I
a
mean?
lot like that. Yeah,
And like walking past it, like they do obviously advertise it, like they're not completely secret because it's more of a gimmick than an actual secret bar.
Yeah.
So like if you look for the signs, you can actually see it says like bar behind this, whatnot.
Yeah.
But like at a glance, it does just look like a dry cleaning place.
Yeah.
But are they fun? Are they good?
It was. Yeah, we went to the first one. I think was the best one we went to. It was called. I can't remember what it's called now. Something like the Dead Canary. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of their theming is dragon themed.
Okay.
I've been in Wales. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
So you have to ring a doorbell to get in. They'd let you in, sort of seat you and whatnot. And it's kind of like a speakeasy kind of like
Nice
setting.
I love speakeasies.
It was really nice in there. And then all of their cocktails, like you can order normal cocktails, they said, but all of their like themed cocktails are all named after different dragons. So you got like the Welsh dragon. I cannot remember the name of it. Bahamut, Jormungandr, and all like different like cocktails and that. And
Jormungandr is technically a snake. I just want to say.
I
I don't want to put that there. I don't want to shit on your holiday, but I'm just going to put that out there.
I know, but I'd let them up after the. And
Did you just sort of shake your head and go,
like,
oh, deary me?
I don't want to be the nerd who's like, excuse me, that's not a dragon.
He's literally called the world snake. So.
But anyway, yeah. So, but all the cocktails were nice, like and whatnot. And it's like I said, it's just nice. You're not going to spend your entire evening in there because it's expensive.
Yeah,
usually it's a kind of 1-2 drink kind of place. But as like a sort of an aside, like thing to do, it's nice. And yeah, we did that. Had food and whatnot, different places. So it was just nice to be out and about after literally having 18 to 24 months.
Yeah,
stuck
for
inside.
sure. I remember we did Wales. We had a sort of a trip around Wales. I think it was just before the lockdown, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we did Cardiff as well. We ended up going to Swansea as well. And I think you did the right thing. Swansea, it's not a good place to go.
No.
I'm sure it's a lovely place to live. As a tourist, there was just nothing really to do there. We had a nice night. We made the most of it. You know what I mean? Cardiff is miles better.
Yeah.
Sorry for everyone that lives in Swansea that's listening. No, you know what? I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. Get better is what I'm going to say.
To be fair, though, to disparage ourselves, there's towns which are nice to live in, or there's stuff to do there.
Yes.
But I would never tell somebody to go there. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't tell someone to come to Birmingham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Manchester and Liverpool, however, they've got that sort of touristy, you can come here and do things.
And I mean, I know they sort of advertise themselves as touristy place, and there is a lot of stuff to do there. But I think if I'd gone there specifically, I'd be disappointed with the options. You know what I mean? Whereas if you live there, it's a nice distraction to go to Symphony Hall or something like that. Do this or whatever. But yeah, go in there. It's not what you want to do.
And it's weird for Swansea to make the decision to not be a good place to live or visit.
Wow. Went too far.
Hey, you know what? Australia can't be my only my nemesis. I've got to expand.
Yeah,
so now it's Swansea and the entire country of Australia.
We had two things to pick. Like
very strange.
One of the largest countries in the world,
and a little city in Wales.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, to be fair, come at me. That's what I'm going to say. Come at me.
Very imperialistic English attitude there. I'm going to pick on the colonials and the Welsh.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to put this out there right now. I love all cities and I love all countries. I love the world. I'm a man of the people.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't think if you come from Swansea, you can be considered people.
Wow. Really gone hard. Maybe we should end this.
You wanted a longer intro. You brought this on yourself.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we get on with the show? Been up to anything else? So, episode 5 of season 6 was entitled Dreamland II. And it was directed by Michael Watkins, written by Vince Gilligan, John Shaban, and Frank Spotnitz, as the last episode was. The original air date was December the 6th, 1998. So yeah, prerequisite, we might end up repeating some conversations that we had last week. It's kind of difficult, I think, to sort of separate them entirely.
Yeah.
Because they are so interlinked. More so than a lot of the two-parters that we've watched in the past, I think.
Yeah. For sure, but to be fair, I think it's fine. Like, I like to think of it like this: they are views, like our views, views so nice, we'll say them twice. That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think it's fine. I think people are coming back knowing we're going to repeat a lot of the things we're going to say, but are coming for that.
Okay.
So
money for old rope, other people.
Hey, you know what? It is, like, but in all seriousness, it is difficult because, especially with this one, this double-parter, a lot of the context for what makes the double-parter good is from the second episode.
Yeah.
So to get through the first episode without mentioning anything is a difficult task.
Yeah, and it doesn't work on its own. Like,
No, I don't think
I mean, narratively, definitely doesn't because it's on a cliffhanger. But I think what it's trying to say without the second part is completely pointless. To be completely honest, I don't know if anybody else would feel differently, but I don't know. Two-parters, you kind of have to look at them. It's hard to separate the two, but
For sure, I completely agree with that.
So we start with a kind of a narration of Mulder's life by Morris.
It was a full-on, like, bet you're wondering how I got here kind of intro, do you know what I mean? But I kind of liked it. I thought it worked really well, and it was a good indicator of like the running theme so far, which is like, oh, this is Mulder's life. Pardon my French, but it's like, this is Mulder's life. Look how shitty it is.
Yeah.
That's basically the reason for this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I did like the sort of shots they used as well. Mulder and his sister playing. Mulder, obviously, a Spock.
Yes.
Which I thought was
of course
interesting.
Of course he's a Trekkie. Of course he is.
Yeah. But yeah, so we sort of get that intro, and Morris basically said he's going to turn his life around from this. We go back to Nevada and we see the ending of the last episode as Mulder's being dragged away, and Fletcher sort of apologises for not telling Kirsch about this, which we've kind of already seen.
Also apologises to Scully as well for dobbing her in, and then proceeds to immediately like hit on her. But like I like it because it was like it's all like contrary to what he said before, where it's like the intro was him his self monologue of like how he's going to turn his life around, how he's going to do it for the better, and then immediately, and it needed to be like this. Immediately, you get this scene with Scully where he hits on her straight off, and you're like, oh, actually, no, he's just doing all this for himself. Yeah,
he's a very, very selfish character.
Very self-centered, and like literally using Mulder's good looks to get what he wants at this point.
Which is why, and we can kind of talk about it now because we're on this episode, which is why the ending rubs me the wrong way, I think.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when we get to it, but there's kind of... we'll save it actually. We'll save it because it make more sense at the end. Elsewhere we see Mulder being... put in the brig of this sort of compound or whatever it is, and this is where he sort of encounters the pilot who's in the Native American woman's body.
Yeah.
I'm talking about there's a later scene as well between these two where they're kind of arguing with each other.
She's great.
Honestly, one of the best guest stars we've seen in a while, because the amount of like character she gets in for so short amount of time, brilliant.
Fully adopts the role, like even in her stance, like you know it's a pilot. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very good. Like I mean, how many times we spoke about this in this podcast about the X-Files, where I love people playing different people, and that's acting. I know it's acting, but do you know what I mean? When I think and I've said this time and time again, I think it's a sign of a good actor when I can watch you and you don't even have to say anything. I know you're a different person.
Yeah, exactly,
because of the way you stand, because of the way you hold yourself, because of the way you fucking throw cigarettes through
Isn't there one bit where she kind of grabs her crotch as like to say, bite me and all?
I don't remember that bit in particular, but that's exactly the kind of thing, the mannerisms. I think it's really, really good.
Later on, we see Scully basically leaving the office with her effects. She's been suspended for 2 weeks. Yeah. Morris is kind of like, oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Not caring. Immediately goes on to try and set up a date with them. He's like, oh, come over for dinner. And he'll try and like make it... I can't remember his exact wording of it, but basically say make it easier on her. Yeah. Again, very
home-cooked
sleazy.
meal.
Yeah, very sleazy.
I love the fact that this is what tips Scully over to go, this isn't Mulder. He wouldn't offer to cook for me. Yeah.
I don't think he knows how to cook. I did like there was one line in here where he's playing his like digital golf game. I sound like so old saying a digital golf game. But he's like playing that, and he just says, "Yeah, I'm Tiger Woods." And I was like, in many ways, that you're quite like Tiger Woods.
Oh, come on!
Hey,
he's paid his dues, surely.
Hey, I'll never forget what he's done to that poor woman. We see the military police turn up and take Mulder away, and basically takes him into a meeting. This is back at the compound with the general of the base that we've sort of seen in the first episode, and two of the other Men in Black. And this is where they realise that the flight recorder that they were trying to swap in the last episode was actually a fake, or like a scrapped one, not the correct one. Very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah. Once again, Mulder just bumbles his way through and manages to get out of it. But at least I do appreciate in this one, it's not just him sort of stumbling and sort of muttering. He actually takes the initiative and gives a reason as to why he's done this. So it is half of Mulder's initiative, should I say. Yeah,
because he basically is kind of like saying, it was my plan all along. Yeah. I just couldn't let you guys into it.
You guys wouldn't believe me if I told you. You had to figure this out for yourself.
I did like the general at this point going, this basically saying, this guy's got balls.
Yeah. Like just completely turning around on the other guy.
You're a schmuck. We see a bit later on, Fletcher's now preparing his dinner, or preparing the dinner for Mulder, and this is where he finds like he basically does out the entire house essentially, or apartment, because it's just not. He basically says at one point he's a bachelor. He lives like a bachelor.
Yeah, I found it very funny that I saw the way he decorated the apartment and the way he like made everything like it's very Mulder is what I'm trying to say. Like it's very like. The waterbed with the leopard print sheets. Yeah. Very Mulder, I think. Like, I think Mulder's going to go back and enjoy living in that space.
It's not too bad, actually. I could get used to this.
I bet it'd be nice.
We cut back to seeing Mulder basically going back home after he's been in prison. And his wife's, or Morris's wife, is throwing out all his stuff onto the lawn. And this is where he basically says that he's not Morris, he's actually... he's not Morris, he's actually Mulder. To which she just thinks he's having a midlife crisis because nobody would be calling themselves Fox. And at this point, Mulder kind of says, because he realises that two Men in Black are watching the house.
Being tailed.
Yeah. So he's like, is there any way we can go with a lot of people? And that plays into a scene later on. But they need to stay in public, I guess. Back to Scully arriving to Mulder's apartment, which Fletcher now runs her through, shows her everything. I love how Morris basically pulled a Dennis. Immediately gets her sat on the bed, you know what I mean?
Phenomenal. I very much enjoy Morris in this episode. And again, he's a creepy old dude, and like even when he gets caught out, like later on in the episode where he visits the lone gunman. And he just thinks he's the coolest guy in the room. Like he's like the jock that's like hanging around the nerds. Yeah, and he's better than them all. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's very. I just think it adds so much to the show to sort of to these episodes in particular to sort of show. Oh yeah, this guy's just a dick. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's basically what it is. And he doesn't care. Yeah. Like the reason why he was so happy just to take Mulder's place is because he just saw an opportunity for a better life. Yeah, and he just runs with it. Even later on, when like they're trying to humanize him. With his wife. With his wife. I was like, what a dick. Yeah. Like, what he says, like the story he says. I mean, we'll get in. We might as well talk about it now. Where basically he's saying a wedding story to try and prove it to her, and he basically says, "Oh, I said that your ass looked too big." It's like, what a dick. And he's laughing at it. Yeah. He's laughing at an old joke he told. Yeah. So like, on a wedding day, you said that. That's poor taste, man. I can understand how he's ended up in this situation. Yeah, for sure. Fletcher goes to get some champagne and that, and Scully at this point is fully clued in and knows exactly what's going on, and she basically flirts with him and says, "Oh, we could spice this up by using handcuffs." So, like a giddy teenager, he handcuffs himself. But again, doesn't suspect anything because he's just well under the impression that, of course, she wants to handcuff me for like sexual purposes. Yeah. He's just completely clueless to it. Handcuffs him to it, and then turns around and Scully's pointing a gun at him.
says that she knows that it's actually Morris, and that's not
And
Mulder.
he comes clean straight away, to be fair.
Yeah, at least he realised he's been caught out. He tries to come off and say that he can't contact his source, and then immediately the source calls on the phone and says they want to set up a meeting, which they do. They set up this meeting, which is at the Little Alien Bar / hotel.
Alien.
Alien, that's it.
That's the one. Alien. Yeah.
I really like the style of this bar. I was like, that looks cool, actually.
We've spoke about this before on here, but every time it comes up in this show, I wish we had more American bars.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have that over here. Like, I don't know whether like English pubs are like as like idolized in other countries as American bars are over here. But the idea of having like the jukebox and like everyone sitting at the bar, and it just feels a lot more social. Whereas English pubs tend to be more like sat round tables and in corners, and like you go in your specific groups. And I suppose it's not really like that. I don't really know. It just feels more lively, and I have always wanted to. But then again, even like, you know, like the shows where it's like the long dirt road and there's a bar on the side and it's empty, and people go and have a whiskey and just sit at the bar having whiskey when they're depressed and stuff like that. Like, it's a cool visual. I've always wanted to do that. You know what I mean?
Quite a depressing scene, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's one of those situations where you never want to be in it if you're in it. But like, because I'm not in it, I was like, I'd love to be depressed and drinking whiskey at a bar on my own.
Yeah, I think it's that idealising, like, what's it called now?
Dramatisation of life, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. This bar looked awesome. Again, I bet you some of our American listeners are like, it's just a bar.
Regular bar.
It's actually a rundown bar. But it just looks cool. It really does.
I think that idea of like a dive bar is quite like romanticised over here, whereas in America I imagine it's kind of just like, don't want to go there. I mean, let us know if that's different. But
a perfect analogy for it. I watch... So I'm learning to drive at the moment. And so I'm looking to sort of have a look at like my first car. And I'm looking at some of the first cars, like starter cars over here, like just the cheap ones, and they all look horrible. They all look awful. None of them look nice. And I watch some American shows, and they're pulling up in like this rusty Camaro or something like that, and I'm just like, that's what I want to drive. Yeah. And like the whole point of the show, or the whole point of the scene in the film, is like, look at this guy, can't even afford a good car, and there's me going, but I want that car. That's the coolest car I've ever seen. But it's because it's not. We don't get them over here. Do you know what I mean?
106 doesn't have the same like.
Yeah, exactly, exactly right. Yeah, so it is like that sort of wanting of like, because it's what you see in the films. It's what you see in TV shows.
I wonder if like Hollywood was in the UK,
whether that would
like would they? I always think of like Hot Fuzz, whereas they try and like do like Americanized like police chases with diesel Peugeots, and just it's like it just doesn't look cool, but it's like trying to make it look cool.
Yeah,
I imagine. I wonder if like people around the world would like look at it differently if that was the case. Well, who knows?
Who knows? But I think it is interesting, and so long story short, this bar looked awesome.
Yeah. So at this bar, we see Mulder is there with Fletcher's wife, trying to sort of like hide in plain sight, I guess. And we also see Scully turn up with Fletcher, and Fletcher meets the source whilst Scully stays outside, and we find out that the source is actually the general from the base, which he finds incredibly amusing. Yeah. And he basically explains how this all happened, that he was trying to sabotage the UFO. He didn't want it to crash or anything. He just wanted to disable the stealth part of it. Yeah. So Mulder would see it and come report it and whatnot. He gives Fletcher the data recorder in a paper bag to sort of as evidence. And this is when Mulder notices that Scully's actually outside. Yeah. I can't remember why he goes outside now, but he notices that Scully's there, and he goes to talk to her to sort of say, trying to explain his case again. But at this time, Scully, she knows now. unfortunately for him, Fletcher's wife sees him sat in the car with Scully, and he's just convinced now that he's cheating on her. Little does she know that it's a lot more strange than that.
Yeah. We talked about, like, Freaky Friday and stuff like that. It's very, like, this whole scene's very, like, sliding doors, where it's, like, you've got, like, these two lives that are, like, so intrinsically linked, but they're all going on, like, around each other. It's really interesting to sort of see, like, like, it all culminates in the scene in the toilets where they both, like, sort of pop their heads up over the cubicle.
Yeah.
But I did like this scene. I like the idea that they both got their own little things going on, and it's all happening in this one place as well. They sort of just keep missing each other and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's all... You see that a lot in the films, don't you, where, like, stuff is happening all around them, but they just don't interact until a certain other point in it, but I
don't know whether it was this bit as well. I think it might be later on in the episode. But the reasoning for the director of the, like, Area 51, like, the reason for him turning and sort of being a leak is because I don't know whether he mentions that in his job, all he really gets to do is test and fly the crafts.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any more information than that. So he doesn't have actually any information from Mulder. He just wanted to show him the ship so that Mulder could confirm to him that aliens existed.
Basically, yeah.
Like, and so, like, even then it's like all this for literally nothing. Like, Mulder wouldn't have got anything from the source regardless. It's just a guy hoping that Mulder would be able to give him information.
Yeah, because he won. Again, it's that kind of, like, thing of he felt unfulfilled with his life's work, you know what I mean? And just, which, again, you can see so many parallels between both Mulder and Scully, Mulder and, what's his name, Morris.
Yes.
In this point. Of trying to, like, sort of change that, I guess.
And again, like, you could make an argument that, like, this is Mulder in 40 years or 30 years,
exactly. Yeah.
Because that's what this is what Mulder's doing. Like, you know what I mean? And there is that sort of parallel, and not just that. It's literally what Scully said at the beginning of the first episode of this show, which is like, you're just running and you're chasing down pointless leads, and it does turn out to be a pointless lead. It doesn't show anything. It's just a guy that wants to know. Ask Mulder a question. Yeah,
basically. We see that the other Men in Black arrive, and this is where the General realises that and goes and hides in the toilet, which both Mulder and Morris have sort of got into the toilet and into an argument at that time and sort of hid in the cubicle, like you mentioned. They both pop their head over, and again, more comedy, just like the visual of it.
I think these two together are really great. Yeah, especially like when you look at like the dancing scene at the last one. I just think they've got really good chemistry. Yeah, definitely. They sort of hatch a plan in here on how to get the recorder out. So the General goes out and sort of tells them that they have to stop. Yeah.
I think is it Mulder or Morris? I can't remember which one they stop now. I think they stop Morris as Mulder, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Who has nothing in his bag apart from a pack of beers. And this is where Mulder as Morris, again, it can get really confusing, but he's left with the recorder to give to Scully.
It's either that or the other way round, but the point still stands.
Yeah, they just hatched this plan to distract them, essentially. Yeah. This is where Fletcher and Scully take... Yeah, it was Fletcher, yeah. Fletcher and Scully take the recorder to the lone gunman. A nice little lone gunman scene, I think, here.
Yeah, it was good to see. Again, I did like the Morris just like treating them all like nerds and just like... But there was also some interesting things from this scene as well, because like the lone gunmen do kind of like... They're there to sort of like provide like... like they have to be explained to like what's going on, so it's kind of like a recap of the episode almost.
Yeah.
But there are a few like little bits and bobs where like a lot of the things that lone gunmen are researching and a lot of the papers they have flying around, and Morris basically just confirms, I invented this story. Like, none of this is real. You're just chasing, like, dreams at this point, because this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. Which is very interesting, because there is a lot of, like, Saddam Hussein, for example, isn't a person in this universe.
In the world, yeah. Yeah, because he's basically, he says that he planted him and all this
An
stuff.
actor,
all these stories that he's made up and they're just spreading,
Which we didn't mention in the last episode, but there was a picture of him and Saddam Hussein in his office as well.
Yeah, there was, So, that all ties back in. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, same, until I've just mentioned it
But they're sort of investigating this scanner, this black box, because they need more information out of it, how to try and reverse it, basically. while he's just mocking them, essentially. Mulder goes to meet with the general, who's basically shredding all his documents now, realising that the gig's up for him, because if they do switch bodies, he's going to get grassed up, basically, straight away by Morris. This is where we get this scene where he's basically saying that he just wants to know the truth if aliens actually do exist, because he doesn't know. Yeah. And again, it's that sort of thing of not having anything from this encounter. In another area in Nevada, we see two guys and this girl appear at this like mailbox, and this is the scene we mentioned last episode. So apparently this is some UFO spot. Yeah, I didn't really know what this was. Apparently they mentioned like it was meant to be a black mailbox, but it was actually white, and they painted it white. I can only assume that there's it's like law that the black mailbox is Area 51's mailbox. Yeah, that's what I think. But I honestly didn't look it up, because I was just I get the gist. Yeah, it's meant to be a UFO spot. Basically, there's guy who's obsessed with UFOs and his two friends who are obsessed with each other. Yes, a little too much. And they get punished. It's the horror film thing. As soon as they started kissing and he walked away, I was like, well, they're going to end up fused. Straight, because it's... Yeah. I mean, every horror film in the world has taught you that, if you're a couple in love or doing anything like that, dead. Yeah, dead. I mean, they don't end up dead, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so this ripple that we sort of saw at the beginning goes over them, and then we see them both merge together in this great effects. Yeah, really good. It looked horrific. It really did. It looked horrendous. Yeah. And again, wasn't really an important part of the story. I like the fact that they went there, because when we see them again, they're apart. Yeah. And so it is literally like a shock factor, but it just looked fantastic. It's that body horror stuff. It reminded me a bit of do you remember that film we watched, The Colour Out of Space? Yes. It reminded me of that kind of thing. I think anytime you fuse two people together, or The Fly or anything like that, where two people are just it's just I can't imagine anyone not being horrified by that that outcome, I suppose. For sure. But anyway, we go back and Mulder and Scully meet up, and they basically are talking about the data that's all been the lone gunmen have gone through, and unfortunately it's bad news. They think that whatever happened with it was so a 1,000,000 to 1 chance that to recreate it would be too dangerous. They just couldn't do it. Yeah, we kind of get spotted throughout this episode. I think we mentioned this last week, but spotted throughout this episode, we don't really get an explanation of what's going on. Yeah, we do get a gist, which is basically people are being displaced because the things that make these ships fly and the effect that they have. How they fly is bending space time. Yeah. And so from getting from point A to point B in such a quick amount of time, you can do that by bending space time and moving through it that way, and it's quicker. I always like the Brian Cox. I don't know if it was Brian Cox, but some professor basically said it's you take a piece of paper, put 2 dots on it, and then just fold it over. Yeah. 2 dots are next to exactly, and that kind of thing. All these things that are happening are the fold. Yeah. And exactly. It's people being moved around and stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Again, this is all shinted at and sort of mentioned. None of it really goes into detail. No. Once again, doesn't need it. No, I don't. It was enough of an explanation, and the gunmen even sort of come up with their own little things. Enough of an explanation for me where I'm I'm on board. Yeah. That's cool. I don't need to go any further. And I thought it was a really cool way of sort of saying this is what happens. Yeah, I think with this one, it's kind of because everybody knows Freaky Friday, you know what I mean, that kind of premise. Yeah. I don't think you need to go too in depth with it. No. It's not like with Drive where you needed this, where you had this scientific basis of what's happening. But with this one, I think they need to be on that. If you used to really go into it, doesn't really make much sense. No. Having someone displace into a rock, that makes sense to me. It's two figures being morphed into the same place. Yeah. How does that transfer to a soul and a conscience being moved? Doesn't make sense. Yeah. But it doesn't need to. No. This is fine. This is exactly what it needs to be. Yeah, I think literally, it's as long as you can just say, "Oh, it's space-time stuff." Yeah, people will go, "Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. Whatever. We'll go with it." It's basically that's the sci-fi version of magic. You know? Yeah, for sure. But yeah, they sort of explain that it's probably they can't undo this because it's so a million to one that it happened. And Scully talks about how she's lost her job at the bureau, and we get this nice scene where basically Mulder's trying to comfort her.
I'm out of the bureau. I've been censured and relieved of my position.
No. You can explain it to them like you explained it to me. You have the data. You can make them understand. You can get your job back.
I'd kiss you if you weren't so damn ugly.
Take a picture to last longer.
If I shoot him, is that murder or suicide?
Neither if I do it first.
And yeah, we get this nice sweet scene of like, it's kind of like a goodbye scene because they realise there's no way we can reverse this. So,
yeah, it does feel like this is it, and there's not going to be any way back.
Yeah. But just as this is happening, we see the schmuck FBI agent from not FBI Men in Black agent from earlier driving down the road, and he gets stopped by the guy who wasn't fused, the other friend,
the UFO chaser.
Yeah, basically saying, "Oh, my friends have been fused. Like, come see." We go there, and they're not. They're just completely fine. Nothing's happened, and this is where we start to see the seeds of it's been reversed.
Yeah,
naturally,
which is a very cop-outy way of finishing the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this, it just happens. Like, if we all stand in the same position, hopefully it'll all reverse.
This is where the episode lost me, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm
I get
completely
that.
honest. Because to me, and there's more about it at the end, like where, but we'll get to it when we get to the actual reversal part.
An important point to mention in this is the couple kissing don't remember being fused.
It's completely like, what are you talking about? Which is probably healthy for their mental health. Imagine if you could remember that. So yeah, we see Scully driving with Morris, and they go past the petrol station. That's completely fixed now. The FBI agent,
the attendant's still alive.
The Native American woman and the pilot have switched back now. So this is where they go, oh, we just need to go back to this point where it all started. So we see Scully and Morris basically go to his to Morris's house, where Mulder's being chucked out. He's getting all of his things thrown out. The wife is still having to go at Scully.
Yeah,
calls her like, I can't remember.
Homewrecker,
all this kind of stuff.
They also have a nice moment with with Fletcher as well. Like he realizes that he misses his wife.
Yeah,
and there was a moment earlier as well which I kind of liked, which is when
in the bar
at the bar, when Joanne, her name is, isn't it? Yeah. When Joanne sees what she believes to be her husband and Scully, and she goes back in the bar, Fletcher walks through the bar and sees her crying, and there's a little moment, a flicker in his eyes of like he wants to comfort her, and like he doesn't like to see his wife upset.
Yeah.
Still like an arse, but you know what I mean. Like he's still like that was a nice moment, and you do sort of start to see like the beginnings of him going, well, actually, as much as I hate my old life, I do miss it.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, this nice scene is kind of a bit ruined when he starts talking about how he took the piss out of her weight at the wedding. But anyway, this is where the rest of the Men in Black turn up to basically apprehend what they think is Mulder and Scully because they've got the black box. So they all drive away thinking, "Oh, we've missed our moment now." But as luck would have it, the guy, the other man in black who. Man, is that right? Man in Black? That's man
in
black. That'd be the singular of a plural Man in Black.
Man in Black. Yeah.
That sounds like I'm talking about Lost.
Yeah, it does.
But anyway, he stops them. He set up a checkpoint to stop them at the exact point, whether by design or by coincidence.
I think it's by design because he does mention that he's got his own motive for doing this.
Yeah,
which is getting his record cleaned.
Yeah, because it'll reverse everything.
How he figured out that they switch bodies, I don't know.
Not a clue, but yeah. Anyway, he sets a checkpoint up there. They all get out, and as that's happening, the ripple comes over them. And just like that, everything is reversed. the last few days have not happened, and everything goes back to normal. This exact point, I was like, oh, what was the point then?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This felt to me like the sci-fi version of it was all a dream.
Yeah.
I really, really disliked the ending to this because it felt like there was no consequence to any of the characters. None of them have learned anything. Like we've seen like Mulder and Scully sort of like their relationship like at the end of this like be strained, and then like them realizing how close they are. Morris has got away with all of his stuff scot-free.
Yeah.
No punishment for him whatsoever, apart from going to his family he doesn't like, I suppose. Which, is that a punishment? I don't know. Gets to live his life again.
Yeah, but he doesn't remember it though, does he?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And yeah, everything else is just reset. And I just thought, like, that, like, up until this point, I was really enjoying this episode. Like, this episode made, as you said, the first episode, really worthwhile. And I think as a whole,
enhanced it.
Yeah. But the ending kind of, for me, like, sort of, made me just think felt like a waste of time, if I'll be completely honest. But
I completely get that. I don't think I was as down on it as you were.
Yeah.
It didn't really like sort of deter me from the episode too much. It's definitely a cop out.
Yeah.
Like it is just such an easy like, oh well, we'll just all go back. I mean, let's talk about the implications. We touched upon it last week. This doesn't make any sense either.
No, that's the thing. Yeah.
So we do have a scene later where Scully's still got the pennies, the fused pennies, even though she doesn't know where it's come from.
Yeah.
And we also have a scene where Mulder goes into his apartment and then he like pokes his head back out to check it's the right apartment, insinuating that it's still the same. And his bedroom, it's still clean, and his bedroom's still there, like that.
It's all been moved around and stuff like that.
Yeah. So things have changed.
Yeah.
Kirsch hasn't changed.
No, that Kirsch has no idea of what's happened.
But everyone else we don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many implications to this.
Yeah. Like what's actually like changed and what stayed the same.
Yeah,
like or what's reset. Yeah, there's so many like questions about it. Like I honestly didn't think about it before, but leaving the physical objects at the end as still existing, open it up to like if you didn't have them. I guess the only reason they included them is to sort of kind of go, oh, well, something did happen. And you get that, like, funny ending. But it opens it up to so much, like, abuse of, like, okay, well, if that stayed the same, then what about this that was changed here by him?
I want to know what happens when when they walk into Kirsch's office and the assistant goes, hi, Mulder, and Mulder goes, hi.
Yeah,
There's no idea.
Yeah.
And then she gets angry, and then Scully's like, well, did you... You know what I mean? Like, and there's so many implications to it.
Yeah, I think, if they wanted to, they should have just left it as everything's back to normal.
But they did it selectively to what helps them. So, for example, Kirsch shouldn't have forgot everything.
No,
but he does because he needs Scully back in the job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, narratively, it makes sense for him to forget things.
It's reset the time basically. But
None of it makes sense.
Well,
That being said, I didn't really care. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really care. I enjoyed it for what it was. And yes, I can appreciate there's definitely criticisms to be made of it, especially the ending. But I still really enjoyed the whole 2 episodes as a whole, and it didn't really detract from it at all, the ending, for me personally. So yeah, I can't moan about it too much. It's fun to sort of go through it and sort of like go, oh, what's what? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. But as a whole, I really enjoyed it.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not gonna like say it's the worst episode I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it was a bad episode at all. It's literally just the ending, and I'm always of the opinion of, what did you think of the entire package? There's too many people that concentrate on the ending of something.
It's true.
And like throw out everything that's come before it because they didn't like the ending. With this, I liked 90% of this episode. You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought we might as well say this is wrap it up because that was the end of the episode there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did like the scenes for the old woman where like there was 2, but both of those like were really funny just because of like what was in there. Like how expressive of an actor she was. There was just a lot in it that like that made me laugh, and like it was just fun, upbeat, and we had this like kind of adventure. I think there's points through it where it was like, oh, that's convenient. You know?
Yeah.
I think honestly with this episode, it felt like they wrote themselves into a corner. They had this funny idea. They had all these funny scenes planned, and then they went, "Oh, how do we get out of this?"
Yeah,
just time reverses.
They had that mirror scene planned.
Yeah,
exactly. I swear to you, that is the key to this episode. That's what made it, because they had that idea. I swear.
But yeah, ultimately, I think it kind of like loses points for me because of the writing is a bit patchy and like how they do things. But again, that's kind of like, I'm not going to completely throw out the episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Luke's production notes.
Gary Shandling was initially sought out to play the part of Fletcher. However, he was unavailable because he was filming the movie Town and Country, but he would later appear in the 7th season episode Hollywood AD, playing a fictional version of himself. So a bit of a spoiler there for an episode, but Gary Shandling is a celebrity in America that I don't think transcends to over here.
I've heard the name for sure. I'm going to search what he looks like because I don't actually know.
The only thing I know about Gary Shandling is his theme to his TV show, because it's like there's a bit in the middle where he got his mate to commission to write it. It's like a fictional version of it.
Yeah.
And it's literally him just going, "The theme's not over. How'd you like it so far?" I just think it's hilarious. But other than that, I don't know anything about him.
I've just had a look at the picture of him, and I do know him. I know him as an arsehole.
IRL or something like.
Yeah, apparently so. Okay. You've definitely seen him. This is the guy. Do you remember back in the day when Ricky Gervais was going around interviewing comedians?
No, not really.
There's an episode, it's on YouTube, you'll be able to find it, and he interviews this guy, Gary Shandling, and he's just the rudest person you've ever met in your entire life. Again... Is
it an actor, or is it like himself?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think sometimes with comedians you can't tell. I always think of like that, what's his name, Andy Kaufman and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is an aspect of that, but like, I've seen him as well. He was on a round table with, I know Ray Liotta was on it, and Bo Burnham was on it as well.
Oh, okay.
It was like a comedian's round table.
Yeah.
And, again, just an arsehole in that as well, where he was like, thought he was better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Especially Bo. Like, I remember him like, constantly talking down to Bo Burnham, like, oh, he couldn't do comedy because he's only a kid. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. Again, I don't know that much about him, but he seems like not my type of person, if I'm not being honest.
I always, whenever I hear like stuff like that and they're a comedian or a performer, I always try and wonder, is it them or is it like an exaggerated version of them? I can't remember. There was something I saw recently where it was like that. There was a guy who... Yeah, he's just like an absolute prick to everybody, but it is because he's an actor.
Everything that he does is an act.
Yeah. But anyway, the production staff began looking for a replacement, going through the show casting directors. As show casting director Rick Millican put it, lists and lists of potential actors. Gilligan noted, however, that McKean was at the top of the list from the beginning. He was happy to play the part, although he did specifically ask the writers not to kill off his character. Ooh. I wonder if he comes back.
I mean, it's a good recurring role, to be fair. It's still like the Men in Black are like the old Area 51 is still like a nemesis to the Mulder, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Like they can still play a villain to it, and also because they've done this complete reset, it means there's no like, oh, he's going to remember this or
no, exactly. And it's like, it's a faceless character that we know a bit of backstory to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it makes it a little bit more personal.
He could literally just pop up as like as a group of people, and you go, "Oh, I remember this guy."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it works. I don't know whether he will, but
who knows? Yeah, because he seems like he's probably on big money.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Julia Vera was cast in the role of Lana Chi. The Hopi, which I think is the tribe, or not, that sounds disparaging. Tribe, is that what you say?
Honestly, I've got no idea.
Yeah,
and I'm again, it's that thing where we're ignorant over here because we just don't, we're not exposed to it. You know what I mean?
But anyway, like it's a Native American sort of group or whatever. The Hopi woman whose mind is switched with the young Air Force pilot. In order to age her, Vera wore special makeup and facial appliances. Special contact lenses were also crafted to give her eyes a clouded look. the scene in which she flicks a cigarette butt into Mulder's lap took 5 takes to get because the lens obscured her vision.
Oh, no way.
I wonder what she looks like in real life. Because
I didn't notice she was wearing any makeup.
Neither
to be
did
honest,
I honestly thought she was just an old Native American woman.
Yeah. Interesting.
Production for Dreamland necessitated the series to temporarily relocate to Club Ed, a movie ranch near Lancaster, California. Because Club Ed was almost 100 miles away from the Fox studios, most of the show's crew had to camp out in motels located in the desert. Because the filming location was outside the Los Angeles studio zone, Fox was required to pay all actors and production staff a per diem. I'm not sure what that's... some cost or something covering the cost of meals and motel reservations, leading to budget constraints. When I read this, I immediately thought, Chris Carter's like...
You're going to see... So, episode 9, it's going to be Bryan Cranston gets in a car and has to drive east. Mulder!
Or one where he's just driving north. We're going straight back. We're going to Vancouver. Halfway through the episode's production, Duchovny was reported as saying, "When is the show moving back to Los Angeles? Bit rich."
Oh my god, amazing.
Within days, the crew had made t-shirts that humorously featured the question. Many of the locations in the episode were created from scratch, either through conventional means or through computer technology. For instance, the gas station that exploded was erected by the props department outside Lancaster and was fitted with gas pumps from a station that had recently closed. The store was then loaded with merchandise and rigged for detonation. After the set was destroyed and filming ceased, the remnants were quickly cleared away. According to set designer, it was as if the whole thing never existed.
It's fascinating how you wouldn't assume, watching it, that it's, literally doesn't exist. They built it from scratch. That's fair play.
I think it fit in with the episode as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I did like that specifically with that gas station, because you can kind of tell that they'd set it up to do all this, because obviously you can't do the
explosion,
the earthquake thing. But yeah, the fact that they built all that for 3 scenes, probably, something like that. Mad.
It just goes to show the costs that you don't even think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Originally, the time warp effect resembled a blue sheet, according to producer John Shaban, sans the blurring effect visible in the finished episode. Eventually, the production crew felt that the effect was not effective, and so the footage was blurred in order to create a more convincing molecular transferal effect.
I really enjoyed the blurred effect of the sort of... It's like it goes across the screen,
like a wave,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that was really... It's funnily enough, it's like a distortion in an old VHS tape.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of fits the theme of the episode as well, where it's it's like a tape being wiped.
Yeah, it's like a corruption or something.
Yeah, corruption's a perfect word. Yeah. And that kind of works for the whole episode. Yeah. So I liked it. I thought it was really good.
While there really is a little ale in Calf in Rachel, Nevada, along Route 375. Neither the outside or the inside of the location was featured in the episode. So they made it up. They made it up completely, even though it exists. That's gutting, because it would be one of those things that, if you're a big fan, you could go to. You know what I mean? Yeah. You go, I'm going. But if it looks nothing like it, it's well, what's the point? You know what I mean?
But to be fair, they must have filmed it somewhere, unless they filmed it at a studio. Maybe that bar is just.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's something else.
Yeah, who knows? Or maybe it's just, a different bar or something
Yeah.
And finally, the scene where Mulder, as Fletcher, encounters his reflection and proceeds to dance is an homage to the Marx Brothers. This is the one I was on about. The Marx Brothers comedy film Duck Soup, which was 1933.
Okay.
Initially, the producers thought about creating the scene with expensive digital effects. Duchovny and McKean, however, volunteered to do it the old-fashioned way by choreographing their moves so that they would be in sync. Duchovny and McKean each watched Duck Soup and then practiced their routine for a week and a half. During filming, a metronome was used so the 2 actors could keep in time with each other. This ticking was then removed during post-production. The effect was furthered by a unique set. There was actually 2 bedrooms, both mirror images of each other. The only part of the dance that required any CGI was when Mulder fogged up the mirror with his breath.
It's yeah, and like you could tell as well. By the way, it was terrible CGI.
I was having to go at the alien ships and stuff like that. I should have picked on that. I was like, that's rubbish.
A great scene.
Yeah,
I mean, we mentioned it last episode. It's a really great scene.
Yeah,
for sure.
I always like that when there's like this like physical thing that like they could have done it CGI. I mean, I can't imagine it would have looked good.
No, and as well, like. The payoff's there.
Yeah.
Like if you put the work in, the payoff's right there for you. Because for me, I could tell like you could tell it wasn't perfect.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If it was digital and it was CGI, it may not have looked good, but at least it would have been like exactly in time. Yeah. But you could tell this wasn't perfect at all. However, for me, that made it more special because it was like I could tell they're doing this in time, and it's great.
It adds charm to it, doesn't it? Like,
for sure.
I think you can definitely sense that. With I always I've probably mentioned it before, but I always like hearing about production stories like this when they go, no, we'll do it like properly. There was like was it Back to the Future 3? Do you know the bit where the train goes past?
Yes.
And at the exact moment where he says we need to get the train, I can't remember the exact like wording, but like because of that, they wanted to do it, so they acted on like knowing that they set the train off, started the scene, and they had to finish that scene at the exact moment that the train
passed by.
And it's like that's like knowing that, and they put that much work into it to make it more authentic. Is way cooler than if they just went, they just edited a train in the background. It's like, oh, who cares? You know
for sure.
It's kind of like with the Star Wars stuff when you talk about like when they went to CG with like the new the prequel ones, it just didn't have the same heart. Everything just felt a bit hollow, whereas you go back to the original and everything's handcrafted
and for sure.
But I think that's an argument that like that's always going on, isn't it? Whether like
CGI for sure, and it gets more and more blurry, the argument, as CGI gets better.
Yeah
because like you look at stuff like I was thinking about this. There's a scene in Jurassic World, the new Jurassic World. Is it Jurassic World? Yeah, like the first part of the new trilogy that they've got. And they do have a scene in that where like, what's the Brachiosaurus? Is it where like they're on and you can tell it's animatronics?
Oh yeah.
They try and keep it sort of as close to the original as possible, where you do have that animatronic dinosaur, and that is really cool because, like you say, it gives you that bit of heart and it gives you that thing that the actors can touch and whatnot. But like if you take Chris Pratt as an example, you look at something like Guardians of the Galaxy, which CGI is getting so good now that it's very difficult to see what's real and what isn't, and like so there is that argument of like, especially how cheap it is to do CGI.
Like
will you see practical effects much more? It's interesting to sort of see that, because would you say that like that scene with the dinosaur is worth all that extra money when there's such an emotional, like if we take Guardians of the Galaxy for example, there's such an emotional connection between say Rocket, Groot and Star-Lord, and none of them was there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Only one exists.
So like it is possible to do, so it is interesting to have that debate, but definitely gets blurred the more advanced we get.
I always like seeing the behind the scenes, talking of Marvel like stuff behind the scenes. Have you seen the ones where Josh Brolin is playing Thanos? He's got
that big head on top of his head.
He's got like a helmet on with his eyes, but it's like a Thanos head. And it's like, imagine acting seriously. You have to give them all the props in the world that they're taking that seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
That's production notes this week. Critic Files.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic Files.
What are you going to give this episode?
I will say I'm going to give this an 8, and I'm going to give the 2 episodes as a whole an 8.5.
Yeah.
I think it's better than the sum of its parts. I definitely think it's got its problems. But if I'm talking about enjoyment value, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. These 2 episodes I thought were very good. Yeah. And I will say this, we're 5 episodes into this season. I think this has been one of the best starts to a season I've seen in X-Files.
It's surprising because of how much like we'd heard of how like the quality dips, yet so far I've not been disappointed with an episode. Like, I mean, odd stuff, but I'm not really disappointed. Like, I still have found worth in every episode.
Yeah, and I actually think the quality, like, we've not had a dud episode really yet, which is very strange because, like I said, we thought that, like, maybe there would be a few of these, and maybe there is still, you never know. But going off like our like correspondence we have with people that listen and our listeners and stuff like that on Twitter, I think a lot of the feeling I'm getting is a lot of people actually do enjoy season 6. I feel like this LA move, like I can't remember who it was that mentioned. I'm just going to have a quick look.
Yeah, I did see that one. Yeah,
but apparently a lot of people were put off by the move to LA and like this sort of this feeling that it didn't feel like the same show. But for sure, I don't feel like that, and I don't know about yourself.
No, I've not really. I mean, obviously, it feels a bit more Hollywood like now. It feels like you've got more noticeable actors and stuff like that. But the vibe for me hasn't changed. Like, it's a bit more fun, but it's just I'm still enjoying it. Like, there's not a dip for me at all in quality. It's different, but it's not a dip at all. I think I'd give it like an 8 this episode.
Yeah.
I would have given it more, honestly, if it wasn't for the ending. I think the ending docked at least half a point for me, if not a full point.
Yeah.
Just because it just felt like so much of a cop-out. But, I mean, it is what it is. The rest of the public, or the IMDb public, with 3,470 votes, gave it a 9. So a 9.1 and a 9 from both of these.
I can't disagree. Like, it was a fun episode, for sure. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that the criticisms are fair as well. Like, I understand both.
It's interesting though, because I had a look, and I won't go into like any one particular review, but the critical reviews on it were quite mixed. Like they're quite all over the place with this one. Whereas like the general consensus is that that people really like these. Yeah. So it is strange, but
I just wanted to quickly give credit to the person I was speaking about. It was Ray that got in touch. Said, thank you on a fun discussion. This is talking about the Triangle episode. I'm going to go ahead and say season 6 is one of my fave seasons. Part of the general dislike, is probably just the move to LA, but I'm fine with it. I think it's time for change, but let us know what you think. So yeah, I don't want to generalise, because like we don't know what everyone's thought. But there definitely was that general opinion that like it bled into us, and we don't even look for spoilers, but we had that feeling that this was going to be a bad season. But so far fantastic.
That's everything from this week. So next week we're looking at an episode which, maybe we should delay it till Christmas, because that would be fun.
Yeah, I think a 15-week delay is only apt.
It really annoyed me when I read the episode title. I was like, God damn it! Why does the Christmas episode happen in the middle of August?
So we'll see you all in like 3 months.
Next week we are looking at How the Ghost Stole Christmas. So a Christmassy, Halloweeny kind of like vibe, I guess, from this one. So we shall see. That's it from this week. So we'll speak to you next time.